everybody. The TOEFL writing explained in 3 minutes. So this is just a quick overview of what to expect. I'm going to go more into tips and tricks, but I wanted to just kind of quickly go through what to expect. So I only have 3 minutes, so let me get right into it. So the TOEFL writing is the third section of the test. It comes after the speaking and before the it comes after the listening and before the speaking. On January 21st, 2026, the test changed and there are 3 tasks. What are these 3 tasks? The first one is build a sentence. So build a sentence looks like this, where they give you a question or a statement and then you have to answer it. And you have to put the words in the correct order. And yeah, so you would put these words here and make sure that they're in the correct order to make a sentence that is grammatically correct. And sometimes it's also a question as well that you have to put in the correct order. Okay, so that's build a sentence. You'll get 10 of these on test day and you'll have 5 minutes and 50 seconds to complete them all. So it's 35 seconds each that you'll have. The next one is write an email, the second task. And it looks something like this on the ETS website, but for us, it'll look a little bit like this to make everything a little bit bigger and clearer for you to check. But you'll see that there's a prompt. You have some problem or some issue. It could also be you're thanking somebody. There's a lot of different things this could be, this prompt. We'll talk more about this later. And there are 3 bullet points. And your job really is to hit each of those bullet points. You'll have 7 minutes to read the prompt and write an email at least 100 words long. I think ETS will recommend a little bit less, maybe like 80 words, but I recommend at least 100. You want to make sure you hit all 3 of these prompts. You want to make all 3 of these bullet points. So you want to make sure that you talk about all of them. And I'll talk a lot more about this as we go. That's write an email. The last task is write for an academic discussion. This is what it looks like on test day. It looks something like this. This is from the official ETS website. I just want you to see what it looks like for them. But this is what it'll look like for us. Make everything a little bit bigger, a little bit cleaner and clearer so you can read it easier. And it's funny, my head is like the same size as everybody else's head. So I can mess with you a little bit and pretend this is me. So that's the academic discussion. You should check the class. It's some type of university class. There's a question down here that you have to answer, and the professor will ask a question, the students will give their opinion, and they'll agree or disagree. And your job will be to check if they agree or disagree and read what they say. You have 10 minutes to read and write, and you want to write for about 120 words or longer. All right, now you're a cowboy. You know everything that you need to know about the TOEFL writing. You know about the 3 tasks, and that's the TOEFL writing in 3 minutes. I'll talk more about all of these in the next one. All right, I'll see you there. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back. We're going to talk about build a sentence, the first question type you will see in the writing section. So this first lecture about build a sentence is just a general overview for you to know what to expect, what it looks like, how much time you have. So it's just going to be very general, and we're going to get into more tips and tricks and strategy a bit later. So third section of the test is the writing. Build a sentence is the first question type. It looks something like this. And you will have to put these words or phrases into the correct box and put them in the correct order, the correct blank, I should say. And on test day, you can just drag and drop here. It'll be like this. You can drag and drop. You'll have 5 minutes and 50 seconds to do this. You'll have 10 sentences, 10 questions, which is 35 seconds per question or per sentence, however you want to say it. You'll be able to see how much time you have on the top right. So this is what it looks like on the actual test. This is a screenshot from the ETS website. And so there's a question and you have to put the words in the correct blank there, like that, the words and phrases. And up here, you'll see the time, how much you have left. Time management is actually an issue. I was surprised. Some of these, you might just get stuck with a question that you just have a hard time figuring out, and then you'll just spend, a minute on it, and you won't realize it, and the time will fly. So time management is something you'll have to think about. There are usually 7 blanks. So there's usually 7 blanks here. To go back here, there's usually 7 here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I have seen examples with 4, and I have seen 8, but that's the lowest. It's usually 6 or 7 are the blanks. Most of the time you'll be responding to a question. Sometimes you will be asking a question. So sometimes it looks like this, where it says, I heard Ethan started a new job last month, and then you have to ask the question or formulate the question here. So usually 7 blanks, right? Sometimes you will be asking a question. So here, again, 7 blanks here. Here, again, 7 blanks. But this time you're going to be asking a question. I think I said, yeah, look at the punctuation. Look if the blanks are followed by a period or a question mark. So that way you know if you have to create a statement or create a question. You'll sometimes be given too many words or phrases. So let me explain both of these. So first you can see here, okay, question mark, I have to make a question, right? So that changes the order of the words a bit. That's why that's important. If it's a regular sentence, it's different, the order of the words. But since it's a question, the order is a little different. So just to give you a couple of examples here, you goes here, tell goes here, right? So I'm going to be dragging and dropping these things. Did he tell you? Okay. And then company, I drag it here. What, I drag it here, right? So you're just dragging words and putting them in the correct blank. You can do it in order. You know, it's up to you how you want to, what order you want to put these in. Probably you're going to go one at a time. First tell, then you, then what, then company. You're probably going to do it that way. So a lot more arrows here. This gets a little confusing with so many arrows, so I'm not going to go through all of these, but I think you get the point, is that you just drag and drop the correct words in the correct spaces. Now, also, they may give you some extra words. I mentioned this before. So, like for example, this one, new position. This is not used at all. So sometimes there'll be 7 blanks and 7 choices. Sometimes there'll be more than 7. You'll have 8 choices, and there'll be one that's left out. So that's something to keep in mind as well. Sometimes you'll get extra words or phrases that are not used. The sentence that you have to make is not simple. It's not I love cats, right? You know, it's something more complex. It has more than one clause. You can Google what clause means if you're not sure. There's no partial credit for this question type either. You have to get all the blanks correct. So first, let me talk about the types of sentences you're making. We're going to talk about this in a lot more detail, but you can see here, he explained where we'd be stopping for lunch. Did he tell you what company he's working for? I didn't enjoy the atmosphere because the music was too loud. So you see how these are slightly more complicated. You have a conjunction here like but, the one that, you have this relative pronoun. But I'm going to talk more about this. But anyway, the idea here basically is that the sentences are not simple. They're a little bit long. And there's 7 blanks, so there has to be at least 7 words. And there's no partial credit. And this is from ETS's technical manual. In the writing section, build a sentence. It's either 1 or 0. You have to get everything right. So this is correct. If you have 2 things out of place, incorrect, 0 points. So you have to get everything correct to get a point for this question type. And so that's it. That's a general overview of this question. We're going to go into more detail later. But so it's the first question type. You have 35 seconds to answer per question. You can take more or less time. It's up to you. But just make sure you finish on time. Usually 7 blanks. They sometimes give you more than enough words. The sentences are a little bit long, a little bit complicated, complex, and there's no partial credit. All right, so that's the introduction. Let's talk more about this in the next one.